Hello, my name is John Zaccato, and I'm a member of the Security Systems Ethical Hacking Team. In this video, I will be talking about number 6 on the OWASP Top 10 list, sensitive data exposure. What is sensitive data exposure? Well, first of all, what is sensitive data? Normally, this is considered things like banking information, account numbers, credit card numbers, health information, personal information such as your date of birth, your SIN number, or social security number, user accounts, and passwords. Sensitive data could be anything your client considers sensitive. What are the implications to this? Well, if somebody steals your account information, you could have a financial loss, personal or to your business. Your identity could be hijacked or stolen, and if you're a business, you could have decreased brand trust. One way that attackers can get access to data is by listening on the wire. Precautions should be used when transmitting sensitive data over the internet. Data should be encrypted at the transport layer and at the application layer. If you transport unencrypted data over the unencrypted channel, anyone listening could get access to the data. In fact, this data breach could happen during transport or possibly at a later date from access to server logs. So let's go to Altero Mutual. So here I've loaded up the page. As you can see, this is over HTTP. Now let's go and see what happens when I connect to HTTPS. I'm running this browser through a proxy, so I'm just going to show you my connections for that briefly. So here I've got a proxy server running on my local host on port 9999. Let's see what happens when I connect over HTTPS. I get a connection error. It's telling me this connection is untrusted. Be careful with HTTPS connections. They are not always trustworthy. When using a secure connection, browsers verify the server identity by checking the validity of the SSL certificate. There could be honest reasons for an untrusted connection. The certificate authority is signed by an unrecognized authority or self-sign. The certificate has expired. The name of the site and the name of the reported certificate don't match. In general, if you see this message, don't trust it, and definitely don't expose any sensitive data such as your password. Here's an example of Firefox warning that the communication between Altero Mutual and the browser cannot be trusted because certificates is self-signed and is for a different domain. This may mean that we are not connected to the real Altero Mutual. This could also indicate that your connection is going through a proxy and that someone may be listening in on your network communications. Let's see what happens when I log in. So somebody's listening in on my traffic and I've logged into the site. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go check I'm going to do a transfer. Oh, it was successful. Awesome. Let's go see what the traffic proxy tells us. So here's my post request, and in it I can see my username and password. And then we get logged in, and I see something interesting here. I see a cookie, and in this cookie it's got the user info. It's got a username and a user ID. Let's see if I could figure out what this is. It's interesting that this password, it looks like it's encrypted using base 64. Let's see if I can decode that. Oh, looky here. There's my password. Demo1234. As you can see, base 64 encoding is not encryption. So even though the cookie was encrypted, it's easily to determine what the actual value is. Well, let's see if I can get my banking information as well. So I got my user ID. I've been able to get the username and password. And let's see if I got any other data that's in here is valuable. So here's my transfer. You can see the debit account and the credit card numbers and the amount. So again, we've got all kinds of information here. We got account numbers, we got usernames and passwords, and my user ID at the bank. Another way to expose sensitive data is to have insecure cryptographic storage. So another way that attackers can get access to data is through another vulnerability. In recent notable cases such as the Sony attack, sensitive data, including passwords, has been obtained unencrypted by a malicious insider. Sensitive data at rest should always be encrypted to prevent such attacks. I'm going to show you on Altero Mutual that there's an SQL injection. Using that SQL injection, I'm going to be able to grab all the user accounts and passwords. So here I've gone to the transaction page. So in the transaction page, I'm going to do an SQL injection on the after field and show you all the username and passwords. So here I have an SQL injection attack using the union function. So here I'm going to close off the first query. I'm going to put a really large date so that it won't display any of the values. I just want to show the usernames. And I'm going to select the username and password from the users table. Let's see what happens when I put that in. So what I've done here is I've appended information from the user table into the current query that displays the transaction ID and account information. So as you can see here, this is all the usernames and their corresponding passwords. Here I have a scan of Altero Mutual. This is using the general or default test policy because there are many tests that will expose sensitive data. Let's look at the SQL injection ones. So as you can see here, if I look at the transaction.ASPX, it shows up in the scan, and it gave me an idea that there was an SQL injection on the page, and I was able to go in and exploit and display the username and passwords. So here we have encryption not enforced, and if it's on the login page, that's not very good. So here we can, which means we can go in and log into the site over HTTP. We have cacheable SSL pages. So these pages are stored locally, and if they have sensitive data on them, somebody could go and view the pages on your PC and get your account information. So here we got the login page, we've got the transactions page, transfer page, account information page. So even things like email addresses could be considered sensitive data. A lot of times the email address is a user ID or used to derive a user ID. Missing secure attribute and encryption session cookie. But when I look at this, I can see that the user info at cookie is displaying the password and username in base64 encoding, so I can easily determine what that is. Another test that could lead to somebody stealing your password or logging in to a site using your computer is the autocomplete HTML attribute not disabled for password fields. Autocomplete should be disabled for password fields because this would allow somebody to come to an open computer and log into a site not even having to know your password. So as you can see, there are many tests and varied tests that will determine sensitive data exposure using AppScan. Preventing sensitive data exposure. Encrypt data during transport and at rest. Use HTTPS to transport. Use an up-to-date security certificate. Encrypt sensitive data in the database or file system. Ensure passwords are stored encrypted using a password protection scheme. Minimize the data surface area. Only store sensitive data when necessary. Only transport, show sensitive data when needed. Use the latest encryption algorithms. Disable autocomplete on forms that collect sensitive data and disable caching on forms that collect sensitive data. This concludes our coverage of issue number 6 on the OWASP Top 10 list. I hope you found this information useful. I wish you the best of luck in writing and maintaining secure software.